Welcome to the Chasing Rescue podcast. I'm Tonya McBain.
And I'm Dr. Mishel Rich, and this is where you're going to remember your voice, reclaim your life, and find your purpose.
Let's get into it.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Chasing Rescue, the podcast. I'm Dr. Mishel Rich here with my lovely co-host, Tonya McBain, and we are here to talk to you about narcissism, what it looks like, to let you know that you're not alone, and to give you tools that you can actually use starting today, and also tools that can help you continue on your healing journey as you go forward. So today, we are going to be talking specifically about what narcissistic abuse and behavior looks like and kind of identify it a little bit for you, because so many people, I think, still have the wrong idea of what narcissism actually is and what it looks like. And when people are overusing it or using it in the wrong way, it actually hurts survivors of narcissistic abuse because it gets diminished. And it's actually such an important topic that's really come to light lately. And so we're happy to be here to be able to give some clarity on it and give some tools to help you out.
I'm very excited to talk about the book, Chasing Rescue, and the tools that are inside. I think that this book is going to help a lot of people. I'm very excited about it. You know, I find that today's social media has really blown up narcissism. It's a topic that, every time I'm scrolling through there is all over. But some of the information is really good and some is not.
Yes.
And so, that was one of the reasons why we chose to write this book, because we wanted to get proper information out there. And we are both survivors of narcissistic abuse. We both lived in those relationships. We were raised in those relationships. So we were able to pull from our experiences to write the book. And now we want to do a podcast to make it more readily available.
Yes, because it's such a broad term. And there's, like you said, social media has been great with getting information out there and getting the attention to it that I think has been way overdue. And so giving it, putting it in kind of like this, like handbook, basically, for understanding and breaking it down to what it is, what it looks like, what you might experience, to really validate what you're going through as a victim and a survivor of narcissistic abuse. Because as Tonya, as you said, we're both survivors. We've both also done the research and done the clinical side of it as well. And I think it's really important. And I think it's what God has put us on this earth for a purpose, is to help other people get through it and know that they're not alone, and know that there are really simple strategies that you can do starting today that can help you from now until, the long term. So the first thing we wanted to do today on this episode is to kind of break it down and really just talk about, like, what is narcissistic abuse? So how did you start to recognize, like, what narcissistic abuse was, and how do you define it? How do you know it when you see it?
I probably didn't even know what narcissistic abuse was. Even in graduate school, I didn't have a lot of study on that. I mean, I think I was past the relationship before I even realized I was in an emotionally abusive relationship, and I hadn't coined the term narcissism on it, and I didn't realize I was raised by one until I started going to therapy and getting the tools I needed to pull out of this, relationship. But I mean, when I read about narcissism and found out, oh my gosh, this person is, very raging. This person is critical. This person is difficult on purpose. This relationship, I'm always to blame. I can't do anything right. And all I did was walk on eggshells so that I made sure to keep the peace, because the fights were 2 days long, very difficult. And, whether then I got the silent treatment or just made me miserable. And I didn't want to do that, and there's kids in the house, you're trying to protect everybody, you're trying to do everything. And it was just chaos. And, it's very hard to explain to somebody who's never been in a narcissistic relationship what this looks like if they haven't lived it. But for those of us that know what it looks like, they're like, and they read the book, or they, gather information like, that's me. That happened to me. That's me. Yeah. And so, people are so thirsty for this kind of information of, what do I do?
Mm-hmm. Because you made a great point, because so many people, when they're in it, don't even realize that they're in the emotionally abusive relationship, the narcissistic abuse relationship, because it happens so gradually, where the narcissist really starts to erode who you are so gradually, and it doesn't start out that way. Narcissists don't come with a big sign that says, "Hey, I'm a narcissist. I'm going to abuse you and take away everything you believe about yourself and isolate you from your family and, completely erode your self-confidence and self-esteem, and you don't even know who you are after being with me." Nobody brings a sign that says that, right? It starts off with love bombing, and it starts off with, "I feel so great when I'm around this person," but it slowly changes, and that's why when we first start talking about what is narcissism, we break it down into what I like to call flavors, because so many people, I think, when they hear the word narcissist, they think of what I call a me monster, somebody who comes into a party and who's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm the greatest," and they just want to talk about themselves. And that's an aspect of narcissists, because they do think they're the smartest person in the room. They do think everything that they're going through is the worst, the best, the hardest, the easiest, the most wonderful, whatever. Um, but narcissism has different flavors. And so one of them is the grandiose narcissist, which is generally, I think, what people kind of can really spot a little bit earlier. And they always just attention. They need the attention, the admiration, right? They're always looking for that supply of attention, and they think they're better than everybody. And they a lot of times will be that me monster, right? Where they think they're the greatest, and they, just talk about themselves all the time.
And then there's the malignant,
Mm-hmm.
which they're kind of cruel. They're evil. They want to run your life. So, and that was the experience I had. And also there's the covert narcissist, which is, how would you describe a covert narcissist?
The covert narcissist is also called like the vulnerable narcissist. And those are the ones I think that are those and the communal ones, which can be kind of the cult leaderish type narcissist. But we don't talk about those as much, but you'll probably hear a lot about the covert, which is the ones who they seem super humble. They seem like they're just down on their luck, and, they seem almost
They're a little underground.
they're very underground. They're very passive aggressive. They'll say things, to get the attention on them.
They're the ultimate victim.
No, they're always the victim. Yes, they're the eternal victim, where they, if something bad happened, it's, "Oh, it happened to me." If
Way worse.
way worse,
Happened to you.
way worse. If a party is not about them or an event is not about them, they will throw a fit, they will pout, they will leave the room and make everybody else come find them.
They'll wreck a holiday.
They'll ruin a holiday.
Or a birthday. They're going to wreck an event if it's not their event.
Yes.
So my experience was with a malignant narcissist. And when I started dating this narcissist, there was gifts, there was flowers. It was incredible. Surprises. And, I was the perfect person for them. I was gorgeous. I was wonderful. I saved the day by walking into their life. They just wined and dined me, and it was just wonderful. It was a fairy tale. I was marrying Prince Charming. He was unbelievable.
And was it a whirlwind? Because
They went to to romance. Everybody was kind of jealous. Look at them. This is great. And I'd never felt anything like this. And, he was tall, dark, and handsome. And I thought, oh, this is just great. He came from a wonderful family. He checked all the boxes. But my father thought he was great. He came from a wealthy family. There was just nothing there except good stuff. But after we got married very quickly, it changed. It was unbelievable. It was just, I became his slave. I slowly got indoctrinated to not speak up. The mask fell away because he wasn't loving. He wasn't kind. He was cruel. He had criticism. He had small remarks to keep me in line. But it was kind of like a frog in a boiling pot. I didn't know the water was hot. And then after a while, I'm fried because I just took it, and I didn't realize what was happening. But the person that I fell in love with, he was not that person. The person that I wanted, and he wasn't that person. It was just a game. It was just a facade.
Yes. And you made a good point as far as where the person that you thought they were, they're not. But I think that's what people don't understand when they say, "Well, why didn't you just leave?" The gradual eroding of yourself, mixed with the sprinkle of sometimes attention that he might throw at you, we call those breadcrumbs, right? with you also thinking, oh, I want to get back to that person that I saw that he was, thinking that that person is still there. They play on your hope and they breadcrumb you just enough to get you to think, oh, there's a glimpse again. And it actually changes our brain. It changes the structure of our brain, and it changes, it's actually trauma. And so we get in this this addiction, basically, where we can't break free because we're hoping that maybe the next time that I'm with them, they'll be Prince Charming, I
I
guess.
see. Good. Well, and I think what people don't realize is that narcissism can be generational. I mean, when after getting therapy and working through a lot of the narcissism, I realized my grandfather was a narcissist, my father was a narcissist, and then I married a narcissist because wow, this is familiar.
Familiar.
This looks normal to me.
I'm excited to let you know Chasing Rescue is now an Amazon bestseller. If you've not gotten your copy, you can get it at Amazon, Kindle, or Barnes & Noble.
And you just kind of slide right into that thinking it's normal. And then I'm in this emotionally abusive relationship where you have someone that's being difficult on purpose, is unkind. And, if I not criticized him, but if I even challenged him in any way, the fight was unbelievable because the shame inside of him got exploded and he didn't want any kind of controversy. He was in charge. He was the king. You don't come up against this. And it was just, I mean, even over very small, tiny things, like how you shut the car door.
Right.
And it was just very controlling.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to live up under that.
Oh, so hard. Yeah. And in my experience, my biological father was a malignant narcissist sociopath. And then you get that experience and you just, like you said, you think it's normal. And then, so your brain's also really attracted to what feels normal and familiar, right? To where you recognize it and you feel like, oh, I've known this person for a really long time. Well, it's not that you've known them, it's that your brain recognizes familiar patterns, and our brains love familiar and predictable. So we do get drawn to those things over time. And if we're not aware of them, we'll continue that cycle. If we're not aware that, oh my gosh, like this is what has been normal for me, you're going to continue to let your brain kind of choose the people that you allow in your life because your brain is going to be attracted to what is predictable and familiar. So, but I remember in my marriage, where I was always asked, why do you have to challenge me all the time? And it was just something where it was like, no, I really just wanted spaghetti for dinner instead of pizza. It was one of those things. Why do you always have to be so challenging? And that just became my mantra in my own head became, don't be so challenging. And that, back then I didn't know. Nobody really knew. I mean, this was years, decades ago. But I think the one thing that I think is really good about our book and about, how this movement of narcissism awareness is bringing the awareness because these narcissists have been getting away with this with no consequences for far too long because people don't want to talk about it because it's invisible.
It's humiliating.
It's humiliating. It's shameful. They make us believe so much that it's us. And they also come in and they will say things like, well, everybody else thinks you're overreacting or everybody else thinks you're sensitive. Yeah, whatever. So bring in external people that have no idea that they've been brought into this situation. And so they start putting in these boundaries and these walls between relationships. And that's their intention. They want you to be isolated so you don't go and tell anybody else what they're like. And so then you just sit with that feeling of worthlessness and that it's your fault and shame and that you've ruined things. And, and so the narcissist gets to just continue on.
I think you brought up a very good key point. It's about secrets. You keep the family secrets, and the family secrets are, yes, we had a 3-day fight where I yelled at you and I was a complete jerk. I mean, narcissism is almost like a clinical term for being a jerk.
Right.
And so,
but not all jerks are narcissists. We should clarify.
That's very, very, very true.
All narcissists are jerks, but not all jerks are narcissists, just to make that.
That needs to be clear. But you are not allowed to talk about what they did to you. You have to keep it a secret. You can't go to somebody else and they make sure you're not talking about what happened because it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
I did not say that. That did not happen. You were overreacting. And oh,
You took
come
the wrong way.
on. I was joking.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, really? You know, you made me change my clothes because you said I looked fat and we're trying to go out to a party. So I already feel bad, but you wanted to put a little control on there because I was happy and ready to go socialize with our friends.
And let me ask you this then. The magic question. What was he like in public? Like,
The most charming, everybody liked him, outgoing, fun, generous. I mean, he would give, you know, I would go out with my friends for my birthday. Oh, let me pick up the check. And my girlfriends were like, he's wonderful. And I'm like, so, yeah.
yes,
But
because
yeah, their outside portrayal of themselves, everybody loved them. And that's what keeps you under control because if you ever do go, I went to my best friend one time and I was just talking about this relationship and how I was suffering and whatever. And she goes, he is not the enemy. And I thought, oh, sister, you have no idea what you're talking about. And then I learned, oh, I can't talk about this to anybody.
yes, because nobody would believe me. Because people, and I think we're all guilty of this at some point where we only give credit to what we've personally seen, right? Like if you see, say, somebody in the media or a celebrity or something, and they're accused of um, something heinous, right? And like I'm thinking of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, right? People who love Johnny Depp and who'd only seen him from a distance as an actor, as a performer, who loved him as an actor and a performer in all of his movies or whatever, they instantly are most likely to believe him because that's what they've seen. They've seen this charming, great guy. And so we have a hard time just psychologically as humans believing things we have not seen, right? And so people, I think, a lot of times innocently turn into flying monkeys, right? Where they are supportive of the narcissist, not meaning to further abuse the victim, but it is further abuse for the victim.
The flying monkeys sometimes obviously doesn't get the whole story because for months and months the narcissist may see the story. You know, um, oh yes, my wife drinks way too much, and the wife may not have any kind of alcohol problem, but they start this. They drop a seed here, they drop a seed here, and then when this relationship explodes, I told you she was a drunk. And our whole relationship is difficult because I have to control her every night. And then the wife is just like, what? Because you don't have any idea. I found that when I was counseling people, it was just the backstory was incredible. And you don't have time or energy to go fix that, and you can't. So you just, again, you're quiet. You shrink.
You shrink. That's a perfect way to say it. You do shrink because it's too dangerous to be big and bold and challenging and right. And so victims of narcissistic abuse shrink and become so much less of themselves because they're in this state of just trying to survive. And our book is called Chasing Rescue, Surviving Narcissistic Abuse, because it is survival. You are trying to survive, whether it's a spouse, a parent, a sibling, a boss, a friend, whatever. You're just trying to survive, and they condition you to shrink yourself because it's safer for you to let them be. And that's how they keep having their power is society has just let them be.
And they have bruised the victim's self-esteem so bad that they chip away and chip away and chip away until there's not much left. And I mean, I know for me, I just wanted to keep peace. Yeah, I just wanted to avoid fights. And if that meant not opening my mouth and just passing through rooms and living like roommates, I was willing to do that because I just desperately wanted to be left alone. I wanted not to be picked on. Yeah, I wanted not to be poked.
Yes.
And, after years of that, you shrink and you get small. But I think that's why this book is so good because it's so hard to explain it to people and it's even harder to break free. And because your self-esteem is so damaged, you don't know how. You don't even know how to crawl out of it. You're just trying to make it through the day.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And that's why I love how it's in the book, it's broken down into little bits to where it's laid out so that you can understand it and build a foundation of understanding what it looks like and you can kind of pick and what resonates most with you and then go to the next chapter that further explains more about narcissism and to validate the survivors' experiences, also with some tips and tools to help them manage today.
You know what I wish somebody would have told me when I was going through this? That narcissists don't change.
Yes.
because I still had some hope early on in the relationship that he would go back to Prince Charming, or those redeeming qualities that he tricked me into the relationship, they were still there sometimes. And he was very good at breadcrumbing to give me just enough hope, to be just enough kindness to me. Well, over the years, what happens is you accept less and less for what I think is kindness. And I'll give you a small example. One day, I had a really bad headache, and I don't get headaches. I don't know what was going on, and my head hurt so bad, and the kids were crazy. They were young, and he said, "I'll watch the kids for a while. You can go lay down." That was the nicest thing he had said to me in years, because he had never changed a diaper. He had never touched a kid. He'd never fed a kid. He'd never cleaned the house. He'd never done anything. It was all me. And I was actually touched. And I took that tiny breadcrumb. I went and rested, and then there was a hook. There were Sharia grace. And so then the next day was Mother's Day. And he said, "Hey, my friend who was divorced, he doesn't have his kids because it's Mother's Day. We're going to go to the movies." And I was home alone on Mother's Day with my 2 kids. So there was a price.
There's always a price.
But you know what? I was a place in the relationship that having him gone wasn't that bad. But these things aren't normal. You don't realize how you just get sucked into this vortex of accepting less.
Exactly. And I think to kind of wrap up at this point, I think if you found yourself here, you have questions about whether you are in a narcissistic relationship or you are and you're trying to find tools. And one thing that I always tell my clients is your future has not happened yet. You do not have to allow yourself to believe that your future is going to look like your past. There are things that you can do, whether you have to, whether it's a family member, a spouse, a child, a parent, whatever. There are things that you can do in your future to make your future better than what you've experienced in the past with the narcissist. And that can start with boundaries. That can start with remembering what your own voice sounds like. We're going to get into more of those strategies coming up in the next episodes. So stay tuned for those. But I want to leave, to leave you with this is your future hasn't happened yet. So don't give up. Don't feel like, oh my gosh, this is how it's been. I'm stuck. It's going to be forever like this. I don't know what I'm going to do. There are tools, there are strategies, there are people, there are supports. And so just one day at a time, one strategy at a time, and make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because trying to understand the narcissist, putting your focus externally isn't how you're going to get to move forward. It's actually turning your focus to the internal, to seeing what you can do to best meet your needs and support yourself. That's actually what's going to get you on the journey to healing.
For more information on surviving narcissistic abuse,
Like, share, comment, subscribe.
so you can continue to get the support you need on your healing journey.